Welcome to the TTS Talking Educators podcast. Each week we'll be joined by educational experts from across the globe offering exclusive insights, inspiration and guidance to help practitioners unlock the potential for learning in the early years and primary settings. Hello, my name is Mark Loveday, your host for this week's TTS Talking Educators podcast. I'm the headmaster of Fruin College, an independent co-educational day and boarding school for students aged 7 to 19, specialising in dyslexia and co-occurring specific learning difficulties. I'm a specialist teacher, an SLE, Specialist Leader of Education for SEND, and have taught across primary, secondary and sixth form in both mainstream and specialist settings, holding a variety of leadership roles. I've previously set up and led SEND advisory teaching services, been responsible for the creation of diagnostic pathways for dyslexia, dyscalculia and dyspraxia, and created and led an alternative provision for students experiencing emotional-based school avoidance, which went on to win Alternative Provision of the Year in 2023. I'm also a board director for the SBLD Assessment Standards Committee, known as SASC, a trustee of a multi-academy trust, and a national and international speaker. Throughout the series, we'll be discussing a range of topics aimed at supporting SEN in primary settings, inspiring you with guidance and resources to enhance your practice. I'm delighted to welcome Emma back, Emma Jordan, as today's guest. Welcome, Emma. We're back for the last one. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks, Mark. I can't believe this is the last one.
I can't. They have absolutely flown by. But before we get started, could you just give a bit of a quick introduction about yourself for our listeners?
So I'm Emma Jordan. I'm a speech and language therapist. I've worked in the NHS for 30 years this year, and I am the Joint Service Lead for Children's Speech and Language Therapy here in Worcestershire. We're a large team of about 80 of us, speech and language therapists, assistant practitioners and our wonderful admin team, and we provide support to children with speech, language and communication skills out in Worcestershire schools and settings, working very closely with families for children aged 0 to 19.
Brilliant. And you've also done some work nationally as well, haven't you, as a team?
Yes, we've been very fortunate. We're quite innovative and creative here in Worcestershire, and it's the home of Language for Learning as well. So I'm the co-author of the Language for Learning in the primary school and secondary school books.
It really is, and we've said throughout this series, but Emma's team website in terms of their sole provision in Worcestershire is fantastic in terms of being able to download those free resources. And as Emma said last time, that balance system as a really good starting point. But today, in our fourth and final episode with Emma, we will focus on the kind of the role play and the input that has in terms of language development. So if we take that back a step and start focusing really just on play and those initial early stages of play, what is really good high quality play and what does it do to contribute to language skills?
Play and language and cognition and social development all go hand in hand, don't they, Mark? And, from very, very early exploratory play and exploring objects and relating objects together to pretend play, and then miniature small play with small dolls and small toys, up to imaginary play and role play. There are definite developmental stages within play, and those developmental stages are linked to cognitive development, symbolic development, language development, and social development, because you're developing your social aspects of play at the same time as those symbolic skills. So play is really, really important, isn't it? It's really important in terms of giving children an opportunity to develop different types of play, and the language that goes alongside different types of play, and imaginative play and sequential play with like small world type play is so important for language development, because if you can sequence your play, you can start to sequence your language and you can start to sequence your ideas. And play is a brilliant opportunity for children to learn language and learn words and learn interaction skills alongside each other, but also for adults to join children in their play and to play alongside and model some of that language. So it's all intrinsically linked, and the one feeds the other. and it's about having all of those opportunities where children have opportunities to explore lots of different play types and different kinds of play, and having the language that goes with it, preferably modelled by an adult.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes we can be too quick, can't we? Particularly where language development is in line with their cognitive development, to all of a sudden remove play too quickly. I think for some of our children, not all, but for some of our children, they go through the nursery, they go through reception, and then they get into year one. It's right, play stops at the early years door, and this is where proper learning starts. And it's not, though, is it? We need to be bringing more in.
Yeah, and it's so fundamental to have that in terms of your experiences and what you're exposed to. You can be exposed to so much language, can't you, through play? And if that play is facilitated, we've got in lots of our schools now, we'll see fabulous outdoor areas, won't we? Haven't we got great outdoor areas? One of the schools I work in has got the most amazing outdoor area, with a wonderful forest school, wonderful mud kitchen, wonderful stage outside. The children can put on little performances, wonderful construction area, water play, all sorts of different opportunities, and role play areas, dressing up areas, so many opportunities to experience something, experience going into a shop, going into a post office, going into a pretend library, going into, a train station, buying a ticket, going to the theatre. And with that comes lots of language and lots of language opportunities. I think as adults, one of the hardest things, once we've set up wonderful play opportunities, one of the hardest things to do is to then let the child lead the play. So we've got a wonderful resource on our website. Our website's really well managed by Jackie Woodcock, Jackie's my partner in crime in terms of supporting and managing the service in Worcestershire. Jackie's done a brilliant job of organising all of the resources for families and parents. So we've got a whole section called Toddler Talk, where we've got loads of ideas for early play skills and early language development. And there's a lovely kind of ladder of how you can allow a child to lead play, because it's really hard, isn't it, as adults to just step back and to think about letting the child lead, and then you're joining that child alongside their play, or joining a group of children, and instead of taking control, having a plan, asking lots of questions, guiding and directing it, we're not doing any of those things. We've got no plan. We're not asking questions. We're commenting on what we can see. We're following the child's lead. We're observing, we're waiting, and then we are commenting and modelling some of that and extending it rather than taking control.
Completely. And I think that is the danger, isn't it, at times, because we can become so rigid in what we need to get through that we forget those kind of parameters where learning will just naturally take place if we change from being the deliverer to the kind of facilitator.
Yeah, absolutely. It's we spend quite a lot of time in our early year settings talking to practitioners about adult-child interaction and the Hannon approach, and that responding rather than directing, and how you can shape and model and support play without taking over, and how it can be very much about real experiences, and rather than being a screen-based activity. So this is time really to put screens and phones away and to not be distracted by those things, and to have things in the background turned off. So you're just focusing on a really lovely play experience, and you're doing something potentially quite creative and quite imaginative.
Absolutely. And fostering connections, which is another biggie, isn't it? It's very much around you taking that step back and being led by the child in terms of the play that they wish to explore with you there. You are fostering that connection.
And also those early interaction skills with other children. So we know that, when play develops, we move, don't we, from playing alongside and parallel play to cooperative play, and establishing roles in play, and who's going to do what when you're outside, and who's taking that role, and who's doing this bit, and who's going to be the ticket behind the ticket machine in the train station, and who's going to be the person on the train organising. It's all of those roles, isn't it? And there's some of those, and understanding that everyone's got a role to play, and those social interaction skills that come along, and taking a turn and waiting for a turn and coming up with new ideas and how they can, and the sequences that you can see within play, and reliving some of the everyday experiences that children have as well through play.
It provides just such an amazing environment, and I feel as a teacher, such an exciting environment as well, that you feel like you just want to get that engagement, but just taking that step back and observing at times is just fascinating to watch the different directions that they take their play off, and not only kind of then the skills you get from that, but those observations tell you an awful lot about that young person, which again comes back down to that kind of fostering those relationships in the classroom. So in terms of activities at home, I mean, we've spoken a lot during the series of how we can support our classroom practitioners, our teachers, our early years settings. What about at home? How could parents and parent carers, how could they, grandparents, whoever it might be, how could they incorporate kind of language-rich play into the environment at home?
I think the first thing is to have a range of play opportunities, isn't it? And to limit screen time for very young children so that we've got an opportunity to play without screens being part of that. Thinking about children's interests and following their interests, and thinking about the kinds, construction play or creative play or imaginary play, small world play, and having some time to just play alongside and to be part of that play, and to share stories as well as part of that. All of the language skills that we develop for storytelling comes through early play and telling stories through your play. So I think it's about having a range of toys and activities that are available, and then and following your child's preference as well, following your child's interests and what they like doing and what they like exploring,
and not being afraid to get messy.
And not being afraid to get messy, absolutely. And playing inside and playing outside, and absolutely not being afraid to get messy at all. And then just following that child, and just not having a plan, just following the child and their lead with that play.
And I think so realistically, what we're saying is it's time, isn't it? Setting aside, and we all appreciate that in this really busy world that we live in. Time often is at a premium, isn't it? But actually, it's the most valuable resource that we can actually give someone is time. And I think when you talked about kind of that limiting that screen time, and throughout we've talked about making sure we park those devices, getting out and playing isn't just around those kind of language skills we're developing, but we think about those motor coordination skills, that kind of crossing midline and the connectivity in terms of neural pathways in terms of our child's development. It's not just raising language, which is so important, but the wraparound skills that come from that are huge.
But it's fun as well, isn't it? It's fun. It's fun. You talk to any child in reception and you say, what do you like best about being at school? What do you like best about being in reception? And you can guarantee the answer is, I love playing. Or I love being outside. That's the answer, because play is fun, and it's about exploring new things and learning new things and having the opportunity to explore things that you might not have explored before, and making friends and doing things that are fun with your friends.
Absolutely. And I think it's engaging though, isn't it? Let's be honest, even beyond, like you say, that reception class. It'd be interesting if we did a straw poll on feedback from students, say in year one. It might not feel the same because of the route it's often sadly taught through. But you can still have that play based as we move into Key Stage 1, where the curriculum, yes, it does vamp up a level, but we can still be bringing in those really important opportunities for play, be that in the classroom, be that a child-initiated task and going off and exploring, or be that, as you said a couple of episodes ago around, bringing those really good, high-quality playground games back into break time.
Do you remember years ago, Mark, we used to have toy banks where we could swap and change toys? Because toys are expensive, aren't they? I mean, they are. And, charity shops are a great place to find toys. But, having the opportunity to exchange toys or to repurpose or recycle toys, it's just, and to be able to do that, it's just a great idea, isn't it? Just so that parents have got a broader access to toys without having to spend a huge amount of money.
And what a brilliant idea for a PTA to take the lead on as a school. I mean, a fantastic opportunity there, isn't there, in terms of setting up a swap shop at school to help support that development when your child's outgrown it. It moves all the way through, doesn't it, in terms of the next generation coming through. Are there any top, easy, quick games that could be used at home that you think would really support language in terms of that parent interaction?
We've got loads of game ideas on our website. We've got some lovely games that Jackie put on a couple of years ago for when you're in the car, because that is often a missed opportunity, isn't it?
It is.
So we've got games where you can spot things when you're out and about, and talking games for in the car as well, and word games for in the car, and things to do when you're going on a long journey in the car to do with language. So I think it's about finding things that are quick and easy to do just as you're out and about. And I think the car games are some of my favourite, because I think that's sometimes a missed opportunity.
It really is. Yeah, it's a captive audience.
It's a captive audience, absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. And that, Emma, brings us to the end of our final episode. I'd like to say a huge thank you to Emma for joining us and for providing such valuable insights and top tips. You've been listening to the TTS Talking Educators podcast with me, Mark Loveday, and Emma Jordan. If you've been inspired by our conversation today, don't forget you can sign up via the link in our episode notes to be the first to hear about future episodes and access exclusive follow-up content, including ideas for your settings and links to relevant resources.